Anyways, let's check back in with Helen, who is, I'm sure, still riding that high.
I haven't done this in a while.
Why? Why does she default to self-conscious? It's such a drag. And of course, she has nothing to carry over from the last scene except, you know, that convenient bad guy that just showed up.
Screens are everywhere, and screens are controlled by me, Screen Slaver.
And does so again. Drops a killer made-for-TV rescue and chase sequence right into her lap, and I don't care. I mean, I know a part of this is meant to be a PR campaign, but just a part of it. Screenslaver is meant to be a legitimate villain, not a part of her new job as spokesperson or advocate, but it all feels the same. It feels as staged as the TV interview, and therefore it just doesn't have the same feeling of victory and satisfaction when she wins. I mean, it's not like Screenslaver was a threat before, and Helen is going out into the world to stop a threat before they kill again. I mean, Screenslaver hasn't actually hurt anyone yet, which means Helen also doesn't have the added stakes and interest of being any kind of underdog. She's working at maintaining an already perfect record.
You'll be great.
I know I will.
You will be great.
I will be great.
At least Bob's mission in the first film had the added stakes of stopping a serial killer before he inevitably struck again. And if Bob were doing this job, you know what he'd be doing? He'd be pushing back against his handlers. He'd want to go after Underminer, do actual hero work his way on his watch. Probably to the extent that he actually jeopardizes his own cause, which would be interesting. Bob working as a superhero advocate would not be this neat and tidy. Helen just does what she's told and goes wherever she's told to go. And it's also just in the way she acts.
Hey, stretch a leg.
It's like the animators didn't even know what face that was meant to be. Hey.
Well, all the polls are going in your direction.
That's true. Things are good.
Not that I care or even want to be here.
Bring lasting peace.
I will when you defeat evil.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we feel watching you, struggling to care because your heart just isn't in it. And I can buy that this is not her element. I can buy that she doesn't like the PR part of the job, but I'm guessing if that's true, it has no bearing on the story. We're just watching her begrudgingly drag herself through a job she didn't want and work for a cause she doesn't really care about using methods that violate her core beliefs. But she's not doing anything about it.
I haven't done this in a while.
It never generates conflict. She just puts up with it, so it's just pointlessly tedious.
The world is what it is. We have to adapt. Things are fine.
I mean, if Bob doesn't like something, he physically has to fight himself back from acting on it. Helen only seems to act on the most obvious stuff. So she won't do anything unless the villain comes up and pokes her with a stick and runs away like, chase me! I mean, look at this.
Screenslaver is still out there. All I did was play his game and win this round. As long as he gets to play, he wins.
Then get off your ass and do something about it! Christ, I thought you didn't wait for crime. Like, I'm sorry, could you be putting less effort into this? What the hell is this whack-a-mole mentality you've got in your head where you think you can only react? Go on the offensive! We should at least see her trying to solve it, rather than moaning about basic villain 101 tactics like she's never done this before.
All I did was play his game and win this round. He's gonna want more, and as long as he gets to play, he wins.
Oh yeah, no shit. That's what villains do. They play games. Surprise. Like, how about a little detective work? I mean, she's not asking what he wants, what his motivations are, parsing through speeches for clues, nothing. No, just he tossed her the ball, she missed, and now she's just mad at herself.
The push for superhero legalization is becoming a worldwide movement.
I'm happy. I'm happy the numbers are up. I'm happy the ambassador is pro-superhero. And I'm happy you're happy.
Our protagonist, everyone. Okay, I don't know if the self-conscious, antisocial, emotionally disengaged characterization of the writing here is intentional, but unless the story is going to acknowledge and work with it, it is a detriment to this film. Maybe they're shooting for laid back, down-to-earth, and modest, but in these intense circumstances surrounded by passionate people, That just doesn't work. It just makes her look bored and like she's too good to be here.
That's great. I'm happy.
Like, come on, make her care. I don't care what you have to do. Confront her with something that moves her.
Elastigirl, there you are.
Hello.
I just want to thank you for being you. What I can do, is this.
Yeah, that is impressive. Very interdimensional.
What? Why are you so bad at this?
That is impressive. Very interdimensional.
Okay, no. That's what you say when you're not impressed. Or capable of basic human empathy. She sounds more like just like a parent that's just not involved. Yes, honey, I saw your ballet recital. It was very spinny. If you actually hated or resented, just come up with something soulless and objective.
Felt like an outcast before, but now, with you being you, I feel like... Yay me.
I flew them in from all over. They've all been in hiding.
I am called Rick.
Nice to meet you, Brick. Where are you from? Oh, Elastigirl. I assume your powers are...
You know, zapping things.
Name's Reflux. Medical condition or superpower, you decide. That's a little line I say just to put people at ease.
I mean, that was a nice hug, I guess. But I'm sorry, if this is meant to convince me that she's emotionally motivated now, that she's moved by these people she's supposedly helping, it's like the movie knew that she needed some sort of an emotional tether to her plot, so it just put this scene here to try and get a reaction out of her, and...
Nice to meet you, Brick. Where are you from? Very... interdimensional.
Medical condition or superpower, you decide.
This just looks like another PR event. Like a celebrity on a talk show who's only there because she's contractually obligated. She really reminds me of someone that's hard-pressed to genuinely compliment anyone because she's threatened by them. Which, they're a bunch of young hotshot superheroes. Maybe that makes sense, I don't know. Not at all helped by the fact that the whole franchise has that vibe. I mean, Bob can't even stomach the idea of sharing hero work with his partner, who he's supposed to love and support. Never mind hundreds of other superheroes. If this is meant to be some sort of emotional awakening moment for Helen when she realizes just how much good there is behind this cause, I'm not buying it. I still don't believe Helen is any more devoted to this cause than she was at the beginning of the movie. Possibly ever. I mean, how does that happen? How does The Incredibles fail to make a convincing superhero advocate out of one of its main characters? How does that happen? Hell, I don't even really believe this franchise actually wants a world filled with superheroes. I think he just introduced that concept to make Bob's midlife crisis whining sound slightly less self-serving.
It's psychotic. They keep creating new ways to celebrate mediocrity, but if someone is genuinely exceptional...
He does that.
Dad always said our powers were nothing to be ashamed of. Our powers made us special. Everyone's special, Dash. Which is another way of saying no one is.
Wow. Thanks, Helen. Great parenting. There is a response to that, by the way. Everyone is special in their own way. It just stops, like he made a good point. Christ. Sorry. Backtrack. So in relation to Helen, I don't know, maybe the franchise's own creepy superiority complex is seeping into her characterization. Or maybe they were shooting for awkward and antisocial, but missed and ended up at smug and aloof. Case in point, she sits down to chat with Evelyn, the sister of the tycoon she worked for, which I would love to skip entirely, but unfortunately, every single line of it is mind-meldingly absurd. So, just a heads up, this shit's about to get granular. That doesn't hurt at all.
Must be nice for you, being out front after all this time.
Out front?
Whoa, why is she so defensive all of a sudden? We don't know how Helen felt about her glory days, really, besides that she had a mohawk. So this tone with a capital T is kind of coming out of nowhere. I'm suddenly feeling defensive.
Out front?
No, I need context. It's just so...
Well, It's been a while since your superhero days, and even then you were kind of in Mr. Incredible's shadow.
Nah, I beg to differ.
I'm not saying you weren't big. No, you were and are a superstar.
Isn't this supposed to be about helping people? Doing good for good's sake? Did the movie just admit that it cares more about supers getting attention and adulation than it does about them actually helping people?
I'm not saying you weren't big. No, you were and are a superstar.
Movie, feel free to just stop talking.
Even then, you were kind of in Mr. Incredible's shadow.
Nah, I beg to differ.
Again, have you met your husband?
You have the stage to yourself now, and people have to pay attention.
Oh, you mean it's man's world and all that?
He would not need all men of the world's help to overshadow anyone.
Do it so I can do it better.
And what, you're telling me superhero work is the one industry in the world without sexism? And wait a minute, isn't this set in the 60s? I mean, having a female character doubt the existence of the patriarchy would be suspect of writer's bias in 2018. But it was definitely a man's world in the 60s. Absolutely no one is arguing that. Except you, for some reason. I mean, this woman is telling you to your face that yes, your accomplishments were overshadowed by your husband's.
Nah, I beg to differ.
And she's the woman with the charts and the graphs. How is it you believed her when she said that Bob was too dangerous to do this job, but when she says that, you were overshadowed, you're just like, prove it, no,
People have to pay attention.
Oh, you mean it's man's world and all that?
Well,
what world do you live in?
Well, there's clearly no more room on planet denial, population you.
What world do you live in? Your brother runs Dev Tech.
Oh, okay. Can we run those last lines over again, please?
People have to pay attention.
Oh, you mean it's man's world and all that?
Well,
what world do you live in? Your brother runs Dev Tech.
Right. Her brother owns Dev Tech. Her brother. A man. So you could say she lives in man's world. How is this so hard for you to understand? Like, you can't see where she's coming from at all? I don't live in a man's world. You live in a man's world.
You have the stage to yourself now, and people have to pay attention.
What world do you live in? Your brother runs Dev Tech.
What the hell is your problem? She was giving you a compliment, you dork! She clearly feels like she's being overshadowed by her brother, and admires you for doing what she can't. And you, with all the empathetic prowess of a hot iron to the face, bit her head off! Oh, Elastigirl, I'm such a fan. I'm so inspired by you. You stepped out of your man's shadow and did your own thing. Excuse me. I would never work in a man's shadow. Like a loser. Don't you work for your brother? Oh, that's interesting. Could you be more dense and insensitive?
What world do you live in? Your brother runs Dev Tech.
I don't want his job.
What? No one said... Oh, this is how you can tell this was written by a guy with a very weak understanding of feminism. Because he thinks of it purely in terms of women stealing jobs from men, rather than women's jobs being valued less than men's. Which is what I thought we were talking about.
You were kind of in Mr. Incredible's shadow.
Bob and Helen had the same job, but she was still overshadowed, because... No? Was that not it?
I invent. He sells. I ask you, which of us has the greater influence?
Which side of me are you asking? The believer or the cynic?
The cynic
would say selling is more important because the best sellers have the most buyers.
Oh my God, someone take his pen.
Believer would tell you to make your mark. Don't wait for permission. Assert yourself and impose your will on the status quo.
Sounds like my brother.
What?
You sound like my brother.
Well, he's not wrong. There's an art to getting a reaction.
You know what? You're right. There is an art to getting a reaction. Being a good seller, knowing just what to say and the right way to say it, essentially charming people to your cause. You don't have that. I'm reminded of this line from earlier.
Just go out there and be your charming self.
Yeah, that's the problem. She doesn't have a charming self. She's not a people person. She can't flatter. She doesn't schmooze. She can't win people over by the power of an infectious personality. She should be crap at this job. I mean, not the action hero part, obviously, but the PR part? She's socially awkward, self-conscious, defensive.
Sounds like my brother.
What?
She's curt, glib, withdrawn. PR should be really hard for her. And the more I think about it, her proud, sardonic personality clashing with the unforeseen challenges of public campaigning would have made a really good conflict for her if we, cared about those.
A believer would tell you to make your mark. Don't wait for permission.
And holy wow, could you use some self-awareness. You know what? How dare you say that after all it took to drag your ass out here? You piece of shit.
Assert yourself and impose your will on the status quo.
Impose your will on the status quo. What would that even look like? None of this was your idea. You weren't pushing for superhero legalization.
The world is what it is. We have to adapt.
You have been fine with the status quo up until now. Your ideas are all pragmatism and following the law. Imposing your will on the status quo would just be more status quo.
Make your mark. Don't wait for permission.
Oh, and don't you dare wait for permission. I mean, wait until every conceivable obstacle has been neatly cleared from your path. But never wait for permission. Unless, I don't know, maybe she meant last film?
I do.
Pull yourself together.
Well, I see someone else imposing their will on your status quo. You know what? This is all just writer whining. He's just mad because everyone called Helen a passive domestic 50s housewife. So in the sequel, he just had her channel his very mature and very eloquent response of, nuh-uh.
Doesn't matter what you're selling. It only matters what people buy.
After all, why invent an empowering female character when you can just use cliche inspirational buzzwords to sell one instead?
There's an art to getting a reaction. Oh, I know how to get him.
Oh, I just realized I should be taking my own advice.
I need to lock onto a signal and trace its origin.
I can get your contraption together by 5 a.m.
I need to get on TV. Finish our interview by phone.
Promote the hell out of it.
Independence from screen slavery.
Chad tonight. Boom!
That was excruciating to watch.
I'm pretty sure two middle-aged women in the 60s would not go boom. But more importantly,
I need to lock onto a signal and trace its origin.
That's your idea? Trace the signal? Are we implying the police haven't already thought of that? Worse yet, are we implying that the rookie police officer's baby's dog didn't already think of that? Wait, was all of that just to give her an idea? You had to work that hard just for her to think of something? Now, you know what I think? I think you only had one idea for Helen to have. So you had to make it sound so monumentally fantastic, because that was the one and only idea she was going to have. Find a way to track him. No shit!
We go now to a special remote interview with Elastigirl.
How you feeling, Chad?
So they set the trap. Helen conducts a remote interview waiting for Screensaver to jack the signal so that she can... What is that?
And while she postpones her defeat, you eat chips and watch her.
What? The bad guy. Oh, bad guy's that way. She's honestly just gonna follow an arrow?
Elastigirl doesn't save the day. She only postpones her defeat.
Okay. See, now, I don't care. I think the problem is that the hero-villain dynamic at work here is kind of flat. It's just a hero going after a bad guy because justice. Aren't superheroes supposed to have rivalries? Like, arch enemies?
You don't talk, you watch talk shows. You don't play games, you watch game shows.
Is he getting a rise out of her? Is she jumping rooftops just, like, seething? How dare he insult game shows? I will fight for people's right to watch mindless television. Truly, this is my calling. I think part of why this all feels so easy is Helen doesn't seem to care about what he's saying, where he's coming from, what his ideas are. I don't know, she never tries to psychologically profile her enemy. There's no curiosity as to what makes him tick or what his end goal might be. I think it's part of what makes her whole side of this film very dispassionate and hands-off. None of this is personal. It's all political and, I guess, philosophical.
Superheroes are part of your brainless desire to replace true experience with simulation. stimulation.
Okay, who gave him back the pen?
Every meaningful experience must be packaged and delivered to you to watch at a distance so that you can remain ever sheltered.
Okay. And does any of this on a philosophical level even clash with Helen's beliefs, beyond just the fact that he's breaking the law? Or, I don't know, is that what this is here for?
Doesn't matter what you're selling. It only matters what people buy.
Ever ravenous consumers who can't bring themselves to rise from their couches and participate in life.
So basically, turn that damn thing off and go outside? Whatever, Dad.
You want superheroes to protect you and make yourself ever more powerless in the process.
So it's a capitalist versus anarchy type of thing, or a libertarian maybe? A good psychological villain can usually catch the hero out on some moral or ethical double standard and make them think.
I seem to recall you prefer to work alone.
But this... Does even a single word catch her off guard? Is she even listening? It feels like Screenslaver might as well be monologuing to the garbage man from Toy Story 3.
So that you can remain ever sheltered, ever ravenous consumers.
If it's not meant to ruffle Helen's feathers, or provoke her, or challenge her, or give her anything to stop and think about, it just sounds like he's preaching over her head at us, the audience.
Ever ravenous consumers who can't bring themselves to rise from their couches.
Did the movie just call me an idiot for watching this?
While you tell yourself you're being looked after, that your rights are being upheld.
Give me the pen. No, give it to me. Mine.
So that the system can keep stealing from you, smiling at you all the while.
No, you are on timeout. No, you can have it back when you learn to shut up.
Go ahead, send your supers to stop me. Grab your snacks, watch your screens, and see what happens.
You want to throw a get off my lawn in there for good measure? So Helen finds the villain's lair and finds a buttload of evidence laid out for her. After which she's attacked from behind and a fight scene ensues. But I have to skip actually most of it because, one, she wins and who cares? And two, because it causes seizures. Thank you, Pixar, you do care.
What happened?
What happened is you destroyed my evidence.
Are you yelling at him like he's supposed to feel bad about that? Also, okay, that's clearly not the guy.
What's going on? What did I do?
Right? Is that just plainly obvious? As for who Screenslaver actually is, I think the movie's kind of been toying with it being either Evelyn or Winston.
Your tracker worked like a charm, Evelyn. You're a genius.
Oh, shucks. I'm just the genius behind the genius.
Subtle. Meanwhile, Bob is, well, of course, failing on so many levels. But ultimately, he hits a breaking point. He finally realizes that keeping secrets and lying to his wife is wrong, realizes how immature and selfish he's being, and finally makes the decision to trust Helen to handle the news of baby Jack's newly discovered powers, and apologize for being a colossal... I'm sorry? No? Like, not even close? None of that.
Jack has powers?
Well, yeah, but...
You knew about him?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell us?
I don't...
And tell Mom?
No.
Why not?
That's what I want to know!
I'm doing the math, I'm fixing the boyfriend, and keeping the baby from turning into a flaming monster! 'Cause I'm Mr. Incredible!
No, of course not. He doubles down.
I assume she knows.
Are you kidding? I can't tell her about this, not while she's doing hero work. I've got to succeed, so she can succeed, so we can succeed.
I get it, Bob. I get it.
Well, you shouldn't. It's garbage. Look how many of you there are. You can't all be letting him get away with this. What about...
Of course you can leave the baby overnight. I'm sure filling in for Helen is challenging.
No, Edna, not you too. Why? Why is everyone okay with leaving Helen out of major developments in her own family's life? Why? Last film, being detached and left out of your family was, I thought, supposed to be a bad thing.
This, our family, is what's happening now, Bob. And you are missing this.
You are my greatest adventure, and I almost missed it. I've got to succeed, so she can succeed, so we...
Unless it serves Bob, apparently, then it's fantastic. I mean, apparently we just cannot ask him to learn to trust his wife to handle bad news from home. and do her job. Not out of consideration for her. Not because she loves her job and it's important to her, but because her job is important to Bob. Hell, apparently Bob learned nothing from last film. Certainly not how to be less selfish. Not how to stop obsessing and centering every decision around getting to be a superhero again. He certainly didn't learn don't lie or keep secrets from your family. Hell, as far as I can tell, the only major takeaway Bob took from last film was keep better secrets from Helen.
I can't tell her about this, not while she's doing hero work.
I have a question. How is it Helen doesn't get to decide what you can handle, but you get to decide what she can handle? Because let's just be clear, that's what's going on here. He doesn't think she can handle this. And also, he just doesn't want to get in trouble. You know, like a child. He thinks she'll fly off the handle, overreact, lose focus on her mission, and doom any hopes of supers ever being legal ever again. All while stepping in at home to fix his failures and damaging his precious, precious ego. But Bob, for some reason, gets to lie, state he can handle it, and then fail miserably, hit bottom, fix his mistakes, and come full circle with zero input from his partner. Helen never gets the chance to go through that kind of growth. Make those mistakes, say the wrong things, lose focus on the mission, overreact and try to fix everything but fail because she's spreading herself too thin. That story never happens. All because Bob is blocking it from happening. So yeah, his solution is not to seek support and communication from his wife, so they can work through this together. His solution is to dump the baby with Edna and take a nap. Yes, a nap. That's what was missing. Apparently that saves the day. Bob awakens fresh and well-rested to his attentive daughter, waiting patiently to offer him a beverage.
I thought it was best to just let you sleep.
Because I'm your mother?
17 hours?
Oh my god, how long were you standing there? See, here's the thing. They do know that Bob needs to work through this with his partner. They do acknowledge that he needs a loving and understanding family member around for emotional support. It's just that...
I'm sorry. I'm used to knowing what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, that's like your thing, isn't it, Bob? Knowing what the right thing to do is.
But now I'm not sure.
What the hell are you doing?
Edna is babysitting.
Yeah.
And you're okay with this?
This is not Violet's job!
I just want to be a good dad.
Well, you could start by not dumping all your emotional baggage on your kid. I'm a good dad, right? I'm a good dad? Tell me I love you if you tell me I'm a good dad. No! A proper apology to your daughter does not involve a guilt trip where she's manipulated into pitying you. That's abuse, Bob. Call your wife.
I just want to be a good dad.
That sounds nice, doesn't it? Except you've already shown us this.
I'm doing the math, I'm fixing the boyfriend, because I'm Mr. Incredible. Not Mr. So-so, or Mr. Mediocre guy. Mr. Incredible!
You've given us no reason to think it's for any other reason than to prop up his narcissism.
I just want to be a good dad.
Oh, because you love us and you want to keep us happy and safe?
Because I'm Mr. Incredible!
Oh. Okay. I'll just cry now. Later, they announced, rather kind of anticlimactically, that heroes are going to be made legal again.
You all made it happen.
It's like the movie can't even bring itself to care.
They even applauded. Sort of.
And they announced something about a boat or a cruise. There's going to be some sort of signing ceremony. After which Void comes up to ask Helen some life advice.
How do you balance the superhero stuff with the life stuff? Like, I know that I can handle the superhero stuff, you know?
Yeah, Oh, do it. Would you please excuse me for a moment?
Oh, yep. Okay, see you later, Tuck. Good talk.
What was that? Why would you and then... So yes, her forgotten, never really counted conflict is brought right up to her and shoved right to the forefront for 2 whole seconds. And what does she do? She promptly tunes out, her eyes glaze over, and she wanders away. I mean, she'd have to just walk away. What other option was there? So like she could answer. Why? Are there people who struggle with that? Are there women out there who have to salvage their careers after a 15-year hiatus who struggle with that sort of thing? Dear, I wonder what their stories are like. Why? Why would you draw attention to the conflict that you've been completely neglecting the entire film? Why would you even draw attention to it? I mean, was that your attempt to kind of shoehorn it in afterwards and maybe trick some people into thinking that you're actually using it? I mean, what are we supposed to do with that?
How do you balance the superhero stuff with the life stuff?
With ease, darling. With ease. She doesn't think about it. It's not on her mind. She tunes it out like it never happened. Family? What family? I don't have kids. What kids? I don't even remember their names. And the lack of believability in that would be one thing. But what you've replaced it with is this.
I know I should be up there, but I had to step away from the grip and grins.
Really? There's nothing else she's concerned about right now? Nothing more personal, more relatable, more engaging than just
grip and grins, you know?
Gotta get a way to keep it pure. I know I do.
Yeah, Elastigirl's too real for your fake scene, man. Where there should be a story about a human woman working through a major life change, is instead the story of an exceptional demigod mildly put off by mingling? Isn't this franchise supposed to be about a superhero family? Like, this movie is so surreal. It feels like everyone has stepped into an alternate reality. One where Helen was never married with kids in the first place, and where Bob is a struggling single father of 3. That's what this movie feels like.